An entitled Karen freaks out after she doesn't get the discount she thinks she's entitled to, freaking out and gaslighting us in the process and being an absolute all-around nuisance to everybody in the restaurant. Things got so bad that she eventually blocked the entrance to the restaurant with how much of a scene she was causing. Here's what happened. So I work as a host for a restaurant, and yesterday was Father's Day, so it was packed. I worked pretty much the entire day, woke up at 10 in the morning and clocked in at 12 p.m. I sat this family down at around 3 o'clock p.m. and I didn't think much of it. But about half an hour later, the complaints were rolling in. The customers were trying to make substitutions with the combo meals, and that wasn't allowed except for certain items. And it wasn't for some small combo either. It was worth upwards of $100, and this entitled Karen kept trying to squeeze in expensive items to substitute the less expensive ones. When the restaurant emptied out a bit, the manager stopped by at the front desk for a break and a chat. She also started to complain about these customers. They were doing a lot of things that were rubbing us the wrong way. For starters, they pretended like they didn't get a part of their combo when the busboy, chefs, and waitresses all could confirm that it was made and that it was sent to their table. They also started holding the check and the tip as some kind of ransom, demanding that their order be fixed. And they returned about $40 worth of food after just one bite because they were too full. I didn't really care too much and just took it as an interesting story because this didn't really affect me, but it did leave a horrible impression. After the customers were done with everything, they sent their checks with 2 coupons. Now, our company's policy around coupons are pretty strict because it would only allow for a single coupon for each table to prevent customers from splitting their orders and leaving a coupon in every single one of them. I took the $5 off, printed the receipt, and sent it back to the waitress. She then comes back saying that the customer was complaining about how the second coupon wasn't used, even though it was clearly said that only 1 coupon for a table in the back. I was pretty grouchy and I couldn't be bothered after 4 hours of sleep, so I just took the price off for the hush puppies that they had, and I sent the receipt back. The cards got swiped, the money was paid, and tips were given. So at this point, you would probably be expecting the customer to leave. Well, unfortunately, we can't be that lucky because this entitled Karen throws a fit in a way that I honestly never expected. A couple minutes later, an old lady stomped up to the front with a poor waitress in tow, demanding to know why the second coupon didn't take $10 off their order, but instead only took off $5.15. Technically, that was an invalid coupon because we didn't have any entrees below $10, and nowhere did it say that it would take $10 off their check. I tried explaining that she didn't order any entrees below $10, so I just took the hush puppies off the order. She then said, "But that says $10. I didn't really catch her point, and I just said to her, "And so what?" She then said, "So I should get $10 off." I tried explaining again that no, the coupon gives you a free entree under $10, which you didn't order. This entitled Karen then looks at me and says, "Hello, can you read?" She started waving her hands in front of my face, lifted the coupon, and closely underlined the $10 with her nails. $10? This cycle goes on a couple of times, with our voices slowly getting louder before she bursts at the seams, screaming that she wants a refund. So I just gave up and decided to give her the $10 off. Worst comes to worst, I'll just pay out of my own pocket. There were literally customers waiting behind her, and I might as well get this over with. Just when I tell her fine, she took the opportunity to taunt with her daughter recording as backup. "Hush puppies aren't an entree, they're appetizers. I should be getting $10 off my entree. Can you even read?" At this point, she had a crooked smile on her face. Now, there were plenty of cards I could have played here, with the pettiest being the race card, but I just got angry and I decided to argue. I won't lie, some of the stuff I said belonged to a fantasy novel with how cringe some of the lines were. I said to her, "You know what? No, I'm not going to give you the discount." This entitled Karen then requests to see a manager, so I say to her, "Well, congratulations. You're speaking to the manager right now," which is something I just pulled out of thin air. And I then said to her that the final answer is no. The entitled Karen then says, "You're obviously not the manager because I've already spoken to a manager. You shouldn't be working front desk with your attitude." I respond to her by saying, "Good for you, but the final answer is still no." Our voices have been steadily rising at this point, and the actual manager walked in and tried to break us up. Then the funniest thing happened. Her daughter tried to gaslight me and directly lie to the manager, and maybe to her camera that was recording me for TikTok or whatever. "We've been polite all this time, but you've been standing here calling us stupid." And she said this in a matter-of-fact way. So now I hated this girl way more than her mom. She is the textbook example of a gaslighter, all the way down to the dumb side smirk and how she makes you feel dumb when you've done nothing but defend your point. She kept gassing up her mom and playing the perfect Karen supporting role by trying to find any moral high ground. She even tried to pit the waitress against me using the tip, saying that she might not get a tip because of me. It ended with the manager caving in and giving them the discount, and they left happy and scot-free. Honestly, I think I should have just held it in a bit better. And now there's a video of me floating around somewhere acting like a complete jerk, and I have gained doing nothing because of it. I felt super frustrated at the manager, but now I understand there was nothing she could do, and these Karens were just super obnoxious. That is a really disappointing finish. I was hoping the manager would have some kind of backbone and tell them to get lost for talking to their employees like that. I mean, the way they're acting is just so inappropriate. People who go to restaurants like this just to try and work the system and have some kind of advantage moving forward are honestly terrible people. Like, think about it. You're trying to have a night out, but guess what? People are trying to work as well, and they don't need you sending back food all the time, complaining constantly about the most ridiculous things, and then trying to turn it around and be like, no, you're the one with the problem. Like, the only person with the problem in this situation is this entitled Karen. So I don't blame you as well for the way you acted. I would have been so upset as well, especially if someone was getting in my face and screaming at me about stupid stuff like this. Those entitled Karens were just being obnoxious, and you absolutely did not deserve to be treated that way. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My husband refuses to wear a suit or dress nicely for my brother's wedding, and despite my repeated attempts to try and get him to do just that, he is now calling me mean and controlling for trying to make him dress up and look nice, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. I am a 31-year-old female, and I've been married to my husband who's 40 years old for a little over a year and a half. We've been together for 3 years in total. One thing about him is he hates wearing suits. He will not wear a tie, will rarely wear a button-up shirt, and if so, it will not be tucked in. He says it makes him uncomfortable. For our wedding, he did wear a very nice suit, but decided to not wear a tie. Now, don't get me wrong, I tried, but he refused. And obviously, it wasn't going to be my hill to die on, as this was the person I wanted to marry most importantly. But despite all that, he did look really good on the day. Now, we've been to another dozen weddings together ever since then, and whilst they don't usually specify dress codes, in our culture, we tend to dress up for weddings. So usually, I'm very formal, and he will wear a button-up shirt not tucked in, with the occasional casual blazer. He is always the most underdressed person, but he doesn't care as long as he is comfortable. Of course, this bothers me, but I don't say anything for these occasions. Sometimes I suggest wearing darker colors to dress up the outfit more, but that's as far as I go. However, my brother's wedding is coming up, and he is insisting on wearing the same wedding guest outfit he usually wears. This is upsetting me, as although there will be no bridal party, as he is part of the family, he will have an important role in the wedding. He will just stand out being dressed so casually, especially for family photos, and it upsets me that he doesn't want to make an effort for my brother's wedding. He still has his wedding suit, and he won't even wear the suit pants, and definitely won't tuck his shirt in and wear a belt. I cracked and told him that I will be embarrassed to stand next to him on the day, and now he's upset and called me controlling. Now, I don't think I'm being unreasonable because I've dropped this for all other weddings, and I accept that he won't wear a suit, but I think he should at least compromise by dressing up a little bit more, tucking his shirt in, wearing a belt, etc. What should I do? First off, I don't think you're the jerk in this situation. Your husband is being really obnoxious. Like, seriously, it's not like he's wearing that suit all day. I could understand if he wore a suit for a living and he was like, no, I really just don't like suits. But it sounds like he's just being straight up lazy. Like, honestly, buddy, nobody likes wearing a suit. No one likes being stuck in that weird monkey suit where you can't move around and you feel very constricted and really hot and weird. Like, honestly, I'm right there with you. But when it comes to major events in other people's lives, I'm gonna make the effort to try and look good for them and adhere to their dress code standards simply because I feel like that's the right thing to do. The fact that he's not willing to dress up and make some kind of effort to look good, especially when it comes to somebody else's event, that shows to me how selfish he really is. Like, what is his problem? Not only does he not care about you enough to make sure you don't feel embarrassed in public, but he's also being very childish. People literally wear suits to try and look nice in specific situations. And a wedding, specifically, I don't know, your wife's brother's wedding, is probably a good time to wear a suit and deal with it for maybe, what, 2 hours? Like, come on, don't be ridiculous. Get to the after party and then you can take the suit off. Or at least be a little bit more casual. Like, this is not an unusual request. Your wife says they're gonna be embarrassed standing next to you if you dress like that, but this guy still wants to go and just dress in any way he wants. He's ignoring the normal standards and he honestly just sounds like he wants attention. He probably just wants to be the guy going against the grain and wants to look as casual as possible. And that to me is honestly super obnoxious and he seriously should know better. So no, you're not the jerk in this situation. Your husband is being weird and the fact that he would get upset by this is honestly so ridiculous. Am I the jerk for making my sister cry after I was completely honest about the way her husband is treating her? Here's what happened. My sister has a 16-year-old son and his dad is a deadbeat. My sister married John a year ago. John is not his real name. He's the type that thinks anyone that's uneducated or dumb is worthless, and he clearly thinks my nephew is one of them because his grades aren't ideal and he's a bit of a daydreamer. Well, they invited my family to dinner and it was bad. My nephew told us he got a job as a lifeguard a couple minutes in, and his stepdad was surprised. But instead of congratulating him, this man said, "When you said you got a job, I figured it was McDonald's. I don't think you're really qualified to be a lifeguard. Whoever hired you is an idiot. Is it that one place? For everyone's safety, I think I need to give them a call." My nephew just swore at him and then left the house. John laughed and said, "He needs to hear this. Thank God I'm here. That boy needed a father figure like me. He's been coddled by women all his life." Now, when John said that, I was seriously in shock. I seriously could not believe my ears. My husband had to step out because he was starting to laugh at this guy. I asked him if he was being serious, and he was like, "I'm being serious. That boy is an airhead because he's never had a father in his life. Tough love is what we do best. That's why sons need two parents. Dad to toughen their boys up, and moms to coddle them afterwards. You throw that off balance and you get a boy acting like a dumb blonde girl, like my stepson." I at this point just grabbed my girls and we left. My sister chased after us and was like, "We haven't even eaten yet, and John's gonna yell at me for wasting his time. Please don't leave yet." I told her I was sorry, but unlike her, I have self-respect, and I won't sit there listening to this garbage. Maybe she can, maybe she agrees, but that is her problem, and I am not making it mine. She then started to cry and said I was taking it too far. I don't have to like John, but some respect would be nice. Besides, it's not like John was saying anything to me, and he has a point about tough love. You know I love my son, but come on, it's true he isn't the brightest. John is just trying to help in his own way. And when my sister said all this, I just rolled my eyes at her, and I told her that I'm glad John's money makes her so happy, and that she's willing to lose her mind over it. She just started crying again and called me all these horrible names. My husband had to drag me to the car. He told me that I was being a bit harsh. My daughters even said that I should calm down. When we got home, my mom called me and said to please give my sister a break because yeah, he's kind of a jerk, but at least he can provide for her unlike the other men she's dated and married. Apparently, this is the best they all think she's going to get, and I'm apparently ruining it for her. I'm also apparently failing to put myself in her shoes. Right now, I'm just upset. So I've got to know, am I the jerk for making my sister cry, as well as for getting upset at what John had to say? Honestly, your sister is being an idiot. She is quite literally allowing this guy to talk badly about her son, all for the sake of financial comfort. Like, there is no excuse for this. Yeah, the parents of course are going to try and side with their daughter, because their daughter went through some horrible stuff, and they're probably just happy that someone is taking care of her. Someone besides them is footing the bill for what's going on in her life. But I am right there with the original poster. That nephew absolutely did not deserve to be treated that way. Like, what a heartbreaking situation. Here you have, for the first time in this kid's life, a father figure who's gonna hopefully treat him nice. And instead of treating him nice, he decides to treat him like garbage, claiming that this kid is too stupid to be a lifeguard, and that he should have been working at McDonald's instead of anything else. He also basically threatened to try and get this kid fired. Like, what is he doing? That is not a good father figure. That's him being a bully, and the fact that his mother isn't standing up for her kid is honestly ridiculous and so toxic. It's also a huge red flag that the sister's gonna say, "Oh, he's gonna yell at me for wasting his time." Like, oh my gosh, you do not need that kind of treatment. She is literally afraid of his outburst, and she knows he's gonna throw one right when they leave. So for the sake of you and your daughter's happiness, I absolutely would not feel bad about this situation. That guy was being a jerk, he's a bully, and most likely behind the scenes, he's probably way worse to your sister than anything that anyone would know about. And I personally would not entertain dealing with his attitude in the slightest. My girlfriend is incredibly illiterate when it comes to finances, and despite the fact that I'm close to declaring bankruptcy in my life, she is still not helping our situation. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So about 2 years ago, my girlfriend lost her job in a really awful way. Her confidence was shot, and it took her about 18 months to find a new one. I racked up about $25,000 in high interest debts just to support her. I know this was probably a mistake, and I absolutely accept and admit that I also made some poor decisions here, but a majority of that money was spent on bridging the gap from her loss of income. I love her, and I wanted to show her the same support that was shown to me by my loved ones in my early 20s. And this is all when I was going through something similar. She's working now and is contributing enough to cover her share of expenses. Back in March, I graduated with my bachelor's, and I have a job lined up in a new city. The job pays really well and will set me up for a good career in my field. However, due to the increase in rent, my net financial situation will not change or will get slightly worse. I'll have about $700 a month left over for groceries, health insurance, student loan payments, and incidentals. So I don't think I need to tell you how quickly that's gonna go. I was laid off last month from the job I had while going through school. We have enough saved up to move, and I'm currently collecting UI, but I'm having to rely a bit on family and friends to make the sudden difference in the meantime. I am looking, but we live in a small town. There are not many jobs, and many of the jobs that are available are part-time and do not pay as well as UI. My girlfriend is planning on transferring to a new location in the city with her employer. However, I have several concerns here. In the last 5 years that I've known her, she's had 5 jobs and has been unemployed for about 24 months in aggregate. Her Her ability to hold a job is suspicious in my opinion. At first, I thought it was just because she worked with awful people, but after 5 jobs and 3 terminations, I have to ask. As mentioned above, I will have very little money left at the end of the month. If she loses her job after we move, I will be in an extremely tight or negative cash flow situation. There's a real chance I'll have to declare bankruptcy. Speaking of bankruptcy, I will be working in a field where, while it won't be a career ruiner, it is definitely career limiting. If I was 25, I would be less concerned, but at my age, I have serious concerns over how it will affect my career trajectory, as well as my earning potential. Also, as well as my other financial goals. I've already suffered a significant setback in taking on that debt. I've shown her a rough financial breakdown of what the move is going to look like, and I have flat out told her that I don't think that we can afford one. But she won't shut up about buying a car. All of the ones that she has looked at are mid-2000 makes and models with about 100,000 miles on the car. I'm not a car guy by any means, but I've known enough people with these cars to know that they just don't last more than a year or two. I can't get her to consider an import, even though she seems to like mine just fine. Even then, it might be bearable if it was a cash purchase from a site like Craigslist or something like that, but she keeps looking at financing through dicey dealerships. I've been paying over $700 a month on the loans that I took out just to refinance the debts incurred from her period of unemployment. I've made it clear several times that I really wanted to get the smallest one paid off all the way up until before we move to free up some cash flow that we can use in a new, more expensive city. Despite agreeing to this, she has done very little of the things that we talked about doing to tackle this, has volunteered no information, and becomes incredibly defensive if asked about it. I now feel like absolute garbage for making this about money, but I really don't feel like it's fair to me and all of my hard work to put myself in a position where my career might be hamstrung before it even gets off the ground. On top of that, her actions or the lack thereof through the last few years don't inspire much confidence. If I broke up with her and moved in with a friend, I could cut the amount of money I would need to survive until this job starts by about 60%. There are other issues besides this, but this is a big one. I honestly feel like I've tried everything to make this work. I'm out of ideas and I'm nearly out of energy. Is there anything left here that I might have missed? What should I do? Honestly, it really doesn't seem like she's a partner in the slightest. Like, it really seems like there's a lack of maturity on what's actually happening right now. Like, does she not understand that you're on the verge of declaring bankruptcy? Like, you're about to say, hey, I have no money left and we have nothing. Meanwhile, she's looking for cars and doing all this other stuff. Like, what is going on with her? She's had 5 jobs in the last 5 years. She's been fired from 3 of them. I mean, that is honestly not a good sign, and it kind of shows to me that no, she is not responsible with her work, and to trust her to move to a new place and somehow support you as well as her is honestly like a gamble. Like, it's really kind of up in the air. Is she going to get fired from this job as well? Or are we even going to be able to stay afloat? I mean, that's just so unfair for you to be stuck in. You also took out a lot of loans, and you've incurred a lot of interest just to support her when she was unemployed. And I still just can't get over the fact that she's looking for a car. Like, at a time like this, seriously, being with someone like that and the lack of maturity as well as the lack of understanding of what's happening right in front of us must be the most infuriating thing on planet Earth. And you do not deserve that in the slightest. That is seriously so obnoxious, and that really would put a strain on pretty much any relationship I can think of. Financial literacy and trying to make and keep a budget is absolutely a part of a relationship. And the fact that she's not respecting that and is instead trying to make unnecessary purchases is really, really bad. I mean, this guy only has about $700 a month to pay for all this other stuff. And let me tell you, especially with the health insurance and student loan payments alone, literally this guy's gonna have like no money left over. She needs to step up and do her fair share, because right now it seems like she's just taking advantage of you. She is more of a dependent and a liability than a partner. And I know that's harsh to say, but you know what? This lady is 45 years old. She needs to have some kind of financial sense, because her financial sense is more akin to a 17-year-old. So when it comes to thinking about possibly breaking up, I don't blame you with where you're standing. Like, seriously, something needs to change. And if she is unwilling to change and make some kind of effort in this relationship, especially when it comes to the money that you guys literally don't have, then I seriously wouldn't blame you for deciding if you wanted to break up. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.